Okay, so hello, welcome to the Tremont Studios. This is our first recording, and there are 9 of us here, artists in the second floor. I'd like to introduce Anka Lex, one of the owners of the building and a fabulous potter. Here is Anka.
Good morning, everyone. Nice to see you. Yes, I'm Anka Lex, and I'm a potter, a ceramic artist, and I've been working with clay for about 20 years now. And it started out that I saw a bowl, and I looked at that bowl, and I thought, well, I need to make pottery. This is what I want to do. And it was a Majelica bowl, and that's what I wanted to do. So you have this really strong artistic calling, and you start working at home at your kitchen table, and then it becomes very clear quickly that you need a space to work. And so we had a space that was dilapidated, which is today the Rick Gordon Sports Repair behind Coriander, the old Bank of Montreal. And it was boarded up, and it had leaky roof and everything, and Rick renovated, restored this little building for me. And this kind of was the first revitalization through the arts, what we did, and without even knowing it, because I needed a space to work. So I spent a number of years there creating pottery, and I had a few people coming by. But at the same time, I realized, well, now I'm making pottery. The next step is, well, you have to sell your work. And then I was lucky enough that we restored the Clerkson's building, and they invited me to come into the back of Clerkson's, and I set up a studio gallery there. And that was a great way to connect with the public and establish myself as a local arts and crafts person. And I made a lot of gifts there, like people came and bought wedding presents, Christmas presents, thank you presents. I did tile murals, functional stoneware. And also at the same time it was going on that there were other artists looking for space, like Andrew. He took over the Maple Leaf Hall and he ran the fishbowl out of there. So there were a number of artists upstairs. And then my friend Laurie Brown had the Black Dog Studio gallery next door. So there was quite a collection of artists on Main Street. And that all worked quite well for a number of years. And then I finally moved out of my studio and moved home because I wanted to be more flexible with my time. So it's being 6 days a week at the gallery, studio gallery, I found I couldn't go out and show my work elsewhere. So I set up a home studio, and then a year later, it was good that I did that because we started our projects on Simcoe Street, and it started with the Tremont. That was the first project we did there. Of course, the Tremont was an abandoned building. It was quite the eyesore in that part of town. It was boarded up. It stood vacant for a number of years. And after much pursuing the town council at the time, they let us purchase the building. And but the feedback really from the community at that time was not great. There was a great petition going around wanting to have that building demolished. Nobody could see the beauty in it. But we went forward with that, and of course it was gutted completely in the inside. So, and the first open house we had was for the artists, and it was completely gutted. There were just rafters and 2x4s, and there was Jane and Jen, Kaz, Jim, and everybody came through, and it just looked not good. There was not much there, but we were so lucky and grateful. The artists saw the vision right away. They signed their name on the dotted line, and they came on board, and that just gave us so much confidence that we moved forward with that project, because there was just so much doubt put in our mind. But that all went away very quickly, and of course, the neighborhood came on board, and so this is how the Tremont Studios, and the Tremont came back, and yeah, and the community turned around really quickly, and it was due to the support of the artists that this happened in such a quick period of time. So yeah, and during that time, I kept working for my home studio. I just sort of have very intense work periods where I work for a couple months really intensely. And what I like to do now is produce one exhibit a year. And and I show them usually at the Tremont or at 65 Simcoe. And sort of that idea going with the concept of an idea and to present that idea, I find that process extremely enjoyable. Last year I had growing ideas, and this year I'm working on an exhibit called Fantastic Ideas. There's a number of Tom-year-olds I've been working on, and yeah, and that's what I'm doing.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Anka. Well, let's take it to Bill Franks, the wisest of us all. Tell us about yourself, Bill.
I'm the granddaddy of the crowd, and being born in the early 30s was the tail end of the group of seven. And consequently, I hooked up with A.Y. Jackson. The reason why I hooked up with A.Y. Jackson is that Sir Frederick Banting was my godfather, and A.Y. was the Severn building at the time, and it was in walking distance of where we lived, and he often would come to our house for dinner. So as a young boy, I was introduced to A.Y. We rented a cottage up at Go Home Bay in Georgian Bay, and we would go to the McCallum Island. A.Y. would be there, and I was responsible for rowing him around the Monument Channel and other areas, Split Rock and Go Home. And he introduced me to the world of painting, taught me what paints to get, the sketch box. And at one point, I guess later on when I traveled with him up the Ottawa Valley in '61, I was a junior intern at Toronto Western Hospital. And he said, I guess before I went into medicine, he said, you know, Bill, you should become an artist. And then he sort of thought how unwealthy he was at ages. He said, no, stick to medicine. So that's through my life, really painting to me is a hobby. I never did go to any formal art school as some of the other people here have. I've had a chance to paint all across this country. I've been up in the Arctic 7 times, and I lived off the land with the Inuit. My favorite areas for painting are actually the Arctic and Georgian Bay. We have a cottage up in Northeast Georgian Bay where I'm heading up in a couple of days. And also the Charlevoix area of Quebec. And naturally, hooking up with AY, my art is the group of 7 style, the typical sort of en plein air sketching, and from there working up in the studio, the large pieces. What I like about being at the Tremont, a great group of people, but we help each other out, and you get stuck on some point. And give an example, AY, I asked him once what was his best painting, and he said First Snow Algoma. And I was doing a Quebec scene, and I want to get those wisps of snow, and I wasn't too sure how to do it. So I visit each person in the studio and to find out how to do wisps of snow, but unfortunately nobody knew do it. So I changed my style completely to falling snow in that. It's great to have the support of everybody and tell you what to do and the suggestions. And it's interesting because you get about 3 or 4 suggestions to solve one problem, and you have to decide from there which one of the 3 or 4 to take and see what you end up with. It's been a. Do you want me to talk about what's happening now? I guess with the virus, Andrew.
Well, let's get everybody their input into who they are and everything, and then we'll
Okay.
do the virus. Okay.
Stop it.
Okay, Jane, why don't you tell us about yourself and
Sure.
how you feel about the Tremont?
Sure. Well, I I moved up here, I guess, about 9 years ago from Toronto. Oh dear, I have echo. Do you have my echo?
Yeah.
Any idea how to get rid of that? Oh, better now. Okay.
There you go.
See, I'm pretty techie. So, moved up here, as I said, about 9 years ago because we were skiers and lived in Toronto. I love it up here. It's wonderful with the nature all around. It's such an inspiration. I grew up in a very artistic home, almost a little bit similar to Bill. My dad was a member of Arts and Letters Club and some like AJ Casson and people like that. Like little girl, I used to go to all these homes. Sorry, I'm hearing something in the background.
I think it's because Andrew and Jen are close
Yeah,
to
I
each
get-
other.
I'm just going to close my door.
Oh, okay.
Hang on.
I'll just,
That Jen Wilson is so loud.
great.
Oh,
Okay,
hey.
I'll try again. Anyway, so I grew up in an artistic home, and I'm an only child, so I always had a space. You know, that was just a natural thing. And I used to go to homes of artists, and I guess it just got into my soul. I went to Queen's in fine art, did studio art, but also art history, which I loved, and then got my teaching degree for art. But it was kind of neat because I didn't follow the traditional role. Actually, at that time, it was really hard to get jobs in teaching. So I took a different course that was artist and community education on top of the other. And I ended up at the AGO, which was like a dream job, art education officer for about 6 years, and got to see the collection every day, worked with all sorts of kids, and then had a business of art centers in Toronto. We had 3 centers. And after that, I was the lower school art teacher at Crescent Boys School for 20 years. But always I was painting and showing and selling. But then when we moved up here, the beauty for me was I took off my teaching hat and really was able to focus on my work. I've always loved painting water and big skies. And so the last few years, I've really focused on 2 styles. And I'm not a big risk taker, but I've had a few opportunities come my way, and I decided to go for it. And that's led me to be able to be showing in places like Brussels, and now I have work in a gallery in Paris, France, and exciting to show in New York. It was like I went there as a university student. I never dreamed I could get there, and Miami. So those things have been really exciting for me lately. But really, here's where I need to paint. I mean, even this morning I was by the bay and I took photos that are going to turn into paintings, I'm sure. But you know, when I saw the Tremont before I moved up here, it was awesome. I used to visit the artists, and working at the Tremont for me is like being back at Queen's, but nobody's marking you. Like it's just great. You can, as Bill said, you can chat with people. We're like-minded. People have that perspective on putting art together. So it actually offers something really special, and the opportunity for people to pop in and chat with you and helps you articulate what your thoughts are. So I think that's what I would say about me, and then I can talk about the COVID thing later. So thank you.
No worries. Thank you very much. And we'll just go across screen to Kara.
Hi. I'm Kara. I've been in the Tremont, I think I'm coming up on my 4th year. I'm a painter, and I am currently exploring themes around our experience of place. So I'm inspired by nature and the landscape. I have noticed that my painting's becoming increasingly abstracted, but always inspired by the landscape. I'm a relatively new-ish artist, like since having kids. I started taking more courses and workshops and lessons. I did not go to art school, so I'm not formally trained. And I love the Tremont for many, many reasons, but I think the most important two are you guys and the community that we have there is very special. And for me personally, you know, I used to have a studio in my house that I never used because I was too intimidated to be there on my own, feeling like I didn't know what I was doing, and I would find 105 other things to do rather than to get down to work. But since moving into the Tremont and sharing a studio with Jane, I've been able to build a consistent practice where I come in, I work, we interact with each other, and it's just allowed me to really kind of go deeper and deeper into my creative practice and into my work. And I've been showing and selling and creating and loving every minute of the journey. So that's me.
All right, Tish. So you're up, Tish.
Thank you. Okay, thank you, Tish. Alias Patricia Russell sometimes. Anyway, I've been painting for a long time. In fact, I think there was a very kind teacher that put me in the back of the classroom so I'd be quiet and let me draw. And I owe her in a way because she was responsible for encouraging my parents to send me to art school. And I went to OCA, which is Ontario College of Art in Toronto. And I went there to be an illustrator because I love painting imaginative things. And went up to the 4th floor and saw the studios with the big skylights. And I thought, oh, that's what I want to do. So I changed courses and went into drawing and painting. And then when I finished that and graduated, I started painting murals. And I got commissions for murals and got up on ladders and did that. And I wanted to thank somebody for giving me a big commission, so I painted her children. And no one was more surprised than me. I got a likeness. And then I started painting portraits. And so I did that and did that for quite a while. Then we left Canada. We went to live in Florida, and we were in Florida on and off. Actually, we didn't live there full time initially, but we were there. I was in Florida on and off for about 20 years. And I had started to sell my own work by now. And what happened when I moved to Florida is my whole palette completely changed because Florida is the subtropics. And it just became much brighter. The houses are yellow and pink, and the sea is turquoise. And so my paintings just came up a notch in color. And I sold paintings there, but then I came back to Canada. Canada is my home. And moved to Collingwood. And then I was fortunate enough to get a studio at the Tremont. And I must confess, having a studio there has given me a terrific advantage of being able to come in every day. And I probably have been able to paint more now than I ever have before. But I kept my color. And the paintings, which have always been representational, are now becoming more abstract. They're sort of doing that on their own. And that's where I'm going. And I will say another thing, that having all of these artists, all of you around me, is very stimulating because everybody has their own approach to how they work. And that is very interesting. And I love being here. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you. Kaz, you're up next. Why don't you tell us about yourself and the Tremont?
Hi, everybody. I'm Kaz Jones. First of all, I'd like to say that the Tremont is is so important to my practice. I'm a painter, and the community that Rick and Anka have created by offering studio space to a number of us in one building, concentrated together, has been so inspirational to me personally, but it has had a big effect, I think, on the entire community of Collingwood. We have started an arts scene in our locale. So it has grown and spread, and I think that Collingwood is an arts destination and a beautiful place to come and visit. Our studios are open to the public, so people can see us at work. But we have the privacy of our own spaces, and you can shut the door and you don't have to clean up at the end of the night. The first time I was at the upstairs studio on Hurontario Street, and from there was privileged to come to the Tremont to see those studios with only stud walls, and you had to use your imagination, like this could be a personal space in which I work. And I looked out all of the windows, and from my window at the time I could see the bay. So that was my first choice, and I couldn't wait to start painting there. And then throughout the years we've changed the artists that have been present. A few of us have been there throughout, and it has been a fantastic experience. I also have a studio here at home, which I've been using currently because of the COVID. But there is nothing like waking up in the morning and thinking you're going to your art space and your mind is focused on creativity and not on laundry and what's for dinner and the garden needs tending, that kind of thing. It's a great focus. I did go to art school. I studied art history and printmaking. And following that, I did a teaching degree, as Jane did. But my teaching degree facilitated a lot of travel. So I taught in South America for several years, and then I taught in a First Nations community on the central coast of BC for 5 years. And then I lived on the BC coast on Quadra Island for many years. And then 10 years or 12 years ago, I moved back here to the shores of Georgian Bay. And having grown up in Oakville, I'm not too far from my family, but I have the beautiful features of nature and wilderness around the corner. And like Bill, I also enjoy, and numerous of us, we enjoy plein air painting as well. So getting out in nature is really important, but I'm also inspired by my home and my family, and I love to paint still life. And I think my art is reflective of the things I love. I'm inspired by heavy machinery like tractors and old ships, and I think the history is important in that aspect. But I'm also inspired by home and hearth as well. So I think that's about me.
Awesome. Awesome. Jen, you're up next.
Oh my God. Okay, hi guys, Jen Wilkins here. First of all, I have to agree with Kaz, everybody else that's here. We are so fortunate and lucky to have our wonderful studios. It's definitely a sanctuary when you want to get away from home, get in here, and it's much easier, obviously, when you're not at home to paint. You don't, have kids, dogs, husband, whatever, wanting your attention. So this is really a special place for me. I also just find I can let the paint fly, although I know I'm probably looking fussy now, but generally I'm pretty messy in here. This group here at the Tremont, we've had so many trips together and we all get along so well, and really it's truly a family. And I'd be lost without you guys. I just love this space and being here and goofing around with you all. Anyhow, so that's the Tremont. We're so fortunate. Rick and Anka, thanks again for creating such a beautiful space. And people really do look forward to coming in. With the COVID, obviously that's not happening at this stage, but once hopefully all that changes, let's hope, everyone will be back in again and have the doors open. Okay, so about me, I went to art school, graduated way back 30 years ago. Then traveled, then my husband and I, we moved to Africa, a job took him there, South Africa. So I took up some painting classes there as well while I was there. And at that point it was awesome because back home, that point in time, Kim Danby and more realism, or there was just very, like everything was kind of the, you know, forest green, dusty rose palette, not my thing, as you can see. So I came back with a completely different look on color and wanted to let the paint fly. And since then, been taking workshops as our kids grew up and trying to paint as much as I could. I didn't throw myself out there. I didn't have the confidence. So when we moved to Collingwood 14 years ago, I said, that's it. I'm gonna put myself out there. And I was in the other gallery as well on Main Street that Tremont had at one point, and then moved here since they opened it, Tremont, and couldn't be happier in this space, as I've just said. What else? The most amazing thing happened. I was lucky enough to be able to go with Adventure Canada's painter on the ocean in Denver, Rob Staley, amazing artist in this area, invited myself and some other artists. And so that was truly a trip of a lifetime. And with the whole COVID thing, I've been able to have time to reflect on that, which is pretty amazing. And what else can I tell you? I do abstracts, I also do landscapes. We plein air a lot, this group here at the Tremont, which is amazing. We've been in Newfoundland, Charlevoix, Quebec, Georgian Bay. Anytime we can get out, we all try to, which is nice. And I've learned so much from all the other amazing landscape artists here. I also, I guess, I don't know, I don't want to talk business, so you can check out the website later on all of us if you want to find out where we're at. But just saying, very fortunate to be here in the Tremont with these wonderful artists. We really have fun with each other and just feel blessed. Thanks, that's me.
Awesome. Lisa, you're up.
Hi, I'm Lisa. And once upon a time, I was on my own trying to figure out where I wanted to spend the rest of my life. I'm up in Montreal, so that could have been an option. I lived in Nova Scotia. I lived in the States, and I had all these options that I was considering, and I loved nature, and I loved painting outdoors, and I wanted trees and water, and wanted an artistic community. And with all these choices, I heard about Collingwood, and I heard about the Tremont, and a mutual friend gave me Jen's name, and Jen was the first person I met there. And when I walked into that building, I had goosebumps. I felt that I was home. It was just the most wonderful space, and I had this dream that I wanted to be a part of it. And it took a while before a space became available, and I am so happy and thankful to be a part of this community. You guys are my family. I can't tell you how much being a part of it means to me as an artist and as a person, and as a part of the community. And I will always thank you, Rick and Anka, for what you've brought to all of us and to this community. I've always been creative. Art prizes as a little kid, went on to study art and art history, went on to study the decorative arts at Sotheby's in London, England. So I've always loved objects and things, and I had sort of a convoluted road to becoming an artist. I did architectural rendering, which was not me, but I really know my perspective. And, I took a course at the Ontario College of Art, which changed my life. It was all plein air painting, just using 3 tubes of paint for primary colors. Then I lived in Nova Scotia and had a mentor there that painted in a loose and total style. Not only did I love the group of 7 growing up, but I also loved Matisse and Bernard and their bright colors. And so my whole goal as an artist was to go from this very detailed afraid of color, architectural rendering kind of style to being looser and more colorful. And being here and being part of the Tremont has helped me explore that. And I continue to explore that with my landscapes and still lifes. And I love painting gardens and I love painting still lifes. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, guys. We do not, with us today, we don't have Brian Wall and Dawn. They could not join us today, unfortunately. So what, something that...
What about you, Andrew?
Oh.
What about you?
Thank you. All right. So I'm Andrew Peha, and I'm a landscape painter, and I've been in the Tremont for 5 years, 6 years, maybe. I can't remember actually now. And I've painted in public for a while. I was up at the Inner West Village. I had a studio called the Fish Bowl for obvious reasons. And I was formerly trained as an illustrator at Sheridan College, and just basically gradually changed to doing fine art, and I show in Toronto, and yeah, love it in the Tremont. It's great. It's an awesome space. Basically, I can't wait to get in to paint, and as a painter, I think that's really important. Which brings me to this today, and the situation we're in right now with COVID-19. And I'm just going to kind of open it up, so give each other space on chatting. And how has COVID-19 affected you and your practice, whether it's made you more creative or whether it's made you less creative? The floor, I guess the floor is open, so to speak. So whoever wants to respond to that, begin. Anyone?
Well, yeah.
Oh.
Oh,
All right.
Made me clean up the studio at home and get that organized. So that was a good thing. I found initially I felt quite distracted, and it was sort of hard to settle down and think about painting, but I've settled into more of a routine, which has been good.
So your creativity is still there. It's just not.
It is. It is, and it's sort of given me sort of time and space, I think, to be more reflective and where do I want to go, and an opportunity to explore different techniques.
Okay. Bill, what do you feel? How do you feel?
Well, I'm sort of the opposite. Living on a farm, lots of chores to do, and at the present time, I have no interest in painting at all. I've done, I think, 1 or 2 sketches, which were, they're great for starting fires at the cottage.
That's very enjoyable.
Yeah, yeah. It's the whole thing has come to a dead stop. Now, this is not, over the years, I've gone at times when I was going through medicine and raising a family, and when I was with the Navy and the Cold War and all that garbage, I didn't paint for 10 years. And so this is not unusual. But it's interesting. I really miss the fact that, not doing commissions, not talking to the people, and as the visitors that come in and see your works, and to hear their responses of what they have to say about your pieces, I find extremely interesting. But that's all gone, and I expect it's going to be some time before we get back into the swing of things.
All right. So is anybody else like Bill, not really creating, or?
I think initially I wasn't.
Yeah.
Initially, I kind of, with the whole thing, got scared and just, oh gosh, have to hunker down and that's it. And all the paints were here. I did bring paints home and thought I'd try and paint at home. I set up a studio and everything, but it just didn't pan out so well. And then finally, I actually was out in nature a lot, which was building up the creativity, going on hikes all the time and getting out on the water when I could. So now I'm in the mode, definitely. I want to get Well, more so, you're laughing. You know, I haven't been in too much, but I'm definitely, you know, gonna get back in here. Now that I don't know, I just need this space and I need to create. And I find when I'm not and when things are upsetting, it slows me down. But if you can rejig your thoughts and just get back in there and try and take all the positiveness, then it makes it a lot easier to create, for sure.
Kaz?
I was going to say exactly what Jen said. Initially, I wasn't creative, or I wasn't painting for quite a few weeks. And I think it was because you have to figure out the new world situation. How do I operate in this new situation? So now I'm painting a lot more. I think because I feel I have the skills to navigate what's going on in the world, and I know how to be safer and feel less as if I have to be so wary because I have the skills to prevent getting sick. So therefore, I have more energy to put towards creativity.
Nice. Anyone else?
Sure.
I could tell you.
Okay.
Go ahead.
For me, actually, Kara and I, we were both in the artist project this year, and the timing of the artist project, it happened just before all of this happened, and as it happened for me this year, a new style of work that I had introduced was well received. So I'm still doing commissions. In fact, I'm now doing commissions from people who I originally met and did a commission with. And I also have been very fortunate because when we moved to Collingwood, we built a home where I have a studio. That's where I am right now. So I'm fortunate to go between the Tremont and my studio here. And so I think in a way that helped me a lot because I mean, my life wasn't that different. I'm in my home studio. I have all my supplies. I'm working. I knew I could deliver commissions easily, but it was weird. The first time I went down to deliver, like I grew up in Toronto, not that far from the Don Valley Parkway. We drove down the Don Valley Parkway. It was like a science fiction movie because there was no one on the road. But and then also what's changed for us is our daughter and granddaughter came up here to ski at March break and they have never left. So that's a whole new dynamic, which is pretty wonderful, but different. And the situation has offered me a few other art possibilities or opportunities. One is to partner with a design firm in Toronto who offered to redo a bedroom for someone, and so other companies and people donated, and this will be underway. But the nice thing is it's going to a frontline nurse from one of the hospitals, so I feel good about that. And then Artist Project has something called Pay It Forward, and it's an online art show right now that's I've sold in with that, but still there's another painting there if anyone's interested. And I started gardening. So I am not a gardener at all, and like extreme opposite to Bill, but I have a few pots around, and every day I go out and water my parsley and coriander and my cucumber plants that aren't really doing too much, but it's fun to go every day. So for me, it's hasn't been as traumatic, I don't think. And also living here in Collingwood, we're so fortunate. As people have said, you just go out and nature's all around you, and it's just makes you feel so much better. And just like Kaz said, now there's a different feeling now that you have tools to manage about how to get around town and how to get to the grocery store, and if you need art supplies, what to do. Whereas in the beginning, it was what's happening sort of thing.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's what I've been up to.
Nice. Kara. Oh, sorry.
Oh, sorry, Anka, do you want to go ahead?
Go ahead.
Okay. I have found complete and utter salvation in my creative practice during this time. And I have been able to sort of makeshift a studio space at home. And I have dove, whatever, jumped, I'll use jumped right in. And I sort of show up in my space every day, and I make marks, I make lines. I've been rug hooking quite a bit, and I have found that it has totally grounded, focused, and keep calm during a time where I could have very easily otherwise been sucked into the sort of frantic, negative, uncertain energy of what's going on all around us. So I'm more than ever grateful for being an artist and doing what I do.
Nice.
Nice.
Anka?
Yeah.
For me, it was quite different. I came home, so I was in safe isolation for a while, and I really launched really a deep, like a couple months of work process, and I went through it and created work, and it was really enjoyable for those 2 months. And then I felt that this had been completed, and then I really found a great big void when there was nothing. I finished work, and I've learned really, I get my inspiration just from our community and daily life. And when that's not there, I found that very hard to cope with. So yeah, so it's okay to work for a period of time, but then I really felt I did need the interaction with the community. So I'm very happy that things are slowly starting to open up, and just to see people again and daily life on the street.
It's nice like Simcoe Street is usually relatively busy, but since I've been in here, it's been a ghost town.
Yeah.
And it being addicted to coffee, it was nice when they finally opened up across the street.
Yeah, and so kind of with everything shut down, I sort of, once I went out, I kind of started to shut down. And so things opening up is certainly very helpful.
Tish, what about you?
I have to tell you, yeah, I'm here. Thank you. You know, I agree with, I agree very much with Cara. When this COVID came, I was overwhelmed, and painting has always been a bit of an escape for me, my own world where I go. And so I just went to work and started to really think about the kind of work I was doing and the direction I want to go in. And I really had a talk with myself. If you want to go in this direction, what's taking you so long? Maybe you should start now. And so at first, the virus, which was very overwhelming and upsetting, became a push for me to think about how I was working. But now I'm going to tell you, here, seeing all of you, I realize how much I really want to socialize and see everybody. So much as I love to be very quiet and go into my studio and concentrate, I really like the interaction as well. So I'll be very glad when we can all get together again.
Well, thank you, Tish. I think that kind of leads us very well into the next question. And how is it, and we've mentioned it a few times, with being open and having people come in and view the art and view the process of the art. How do you feel that this is going to change the art market, whether in general or in your experience? Does anybody have anything to say about that?
Well, I think
Go ahead.
I'm in the King Gallery in Niagara Lake, and they've for a couple months now, they've been running a internet type sales process. I haven't sold anything. I by appointment only. I think that's the only thing we can do right at the present time. I know if I ever got the virus, I think game is over because of my age. And so I'm extra cautious. I think Brian's in the same situation. Personally, I don't expect it's going to make any difference whatsoever. I guess I'm a bit pessimistic. I don't see any future sales, as far as I'm concerned, until we get a vaccine.
Well, I think that there's been what I've observed is a real move to online, all sorts of things. For instance, this gallery owner that I worked with in Europe, but he organizes sort of high-end fairs that are kind of like a gallery opening. He brings in all the clients, but the artists are there to talk. Well, that had to be canceled, of course, like everything. But now what he's doing is organizing video interview kind of thing where goes to the studio of an artist or whoever, they film, and then he is also interviewing a collector. So there could be someone in Brussels and the collector's in Miami, and they're doing it that way. I've seen like for instance, the Toronto Outdoor Art Show right now, that's going to be online. Riverdale, the one artists network in the Riverdale walk, that's online. I know, and it's something to think about. I mean, maybe when people get busier again, but I think the clients that I've talked with and been working with, they have more time now. They're more aware of their home space. I had one person that lovely fellow that I was working with, and he was just so excited to get the color of the art into his home to make him feel better, and so I think other things can come out of this, and they'll evolve into it. But whether it goes back to, I think, I agree with you, Bill. It's going to take a while before there's a comfort for people to drop in and visit with you in your own studio space. Anyway.
One thing that the Ojibwe, show, they're having an online show, and I guess we're submitting 4 pieces. I think that's really going to be interesting to see what happens at the end of July, 1st of August at that sale. I think that may change my thinking. I don't know, but looking forward to it.
I'm participating in that. And one of the things I like there's 2 things I like about the fact that it's online. One is that I can include art that I wouldn't have normally included because I never go up there and work has to get there. I have someone who takes it there, but because it's resined, it's more complicated, so I can include different art. And also this time, because I've never been able to actually go to the show, I'll be able to see the work that's being included. So I'm excited about that. So,
could I make a comment?
Sure.
Now is a very difficult time for artists to worry about how they're going to sell their work because everything is different now, but we do have this wonderful thing, the internet. And what I wanted to say is that there was a time between the two wars, the First World War and the Second World War. I actually was not around at that time, but I am always very impressed at the amazing concentration of art and fashion and how people at that time needed to have beautiful things around them. And now people really need to have beautiful things around them, things that will make them feel happier or uplifted or more positive. And so so we should keep going and work as hard as we can, because I think that now it's important for us to contribute to what we can do. That's it.
Anybody else have anything to say about how the art market is going to go?
It's going to
We don't know.
be more online stuff.
Well, I've been online for a while, and I've always tended to deal with clients in that manner. I get contacted through email or through Instagram. I haven't seen an increase or decrease in either or. So personally for me, I don't think it's going to change. I think the art world will have to adjust itself to the way, for example, the way that we're communicating today. And galleries have done a very effective job of becoming online. It's not the same experience, but what do you got to do with that? So I think you really need to be creative with it. So what I worry about is later on in the world, after say a year has come and people are out, but there's not enough money for things to happen. That's where I think it's going to happen to art and be tough to make sales, whether it be online or not online, because some of us have been working through it, but yeah, so.
Andrew, I think that's exactly the way I feel. The money's not going to be there. It isn't there. And that's why I feel discouraged by the whole thing.
The one thing that I've been through one recession, and in 2007, it really hit me hard. And I was one of the canary in the coal mine, so to speak. So before it actually even happened, I kind of noticed a reduction in sales and didn't have anything coming up. And one of the things that when this happened for me, COVID-19, one of the things that I chose to do was to continue to work, because I stopped work, and then I kind of paint with not a lot of inventory. So when I stop work, it means I don't have anything to continue on with that. So my attitude on it is that I'm going to continue to work and hopefully get more paintings to sell when there is money. That's if there is. But
I think that's a really important point, Andrew, is that I think that to hold your focus and attention on what you want, in other words, to be creative and to be producing and to be making and to be in action, kind of gets you in a momentum that draws that towards you as well. So I think that's a really important and valuable thing for all of us creative, everyone, like whether you're a creative person or not, an artist or not, that you know, we need to kind of keep going, like to stop and to just stop, I think is not helpful for our own mental health and our own feeling of well-being, and as creative people who are kind of driven and inspired to make and create and keep moving forward or sideways, as long as it's not backwards, doesn't matter the direction. But I think that's a really important, I think you'll find that is a really important lesson you learned from last time. Like, I bet you're feeling a whole lot better about yourself as a person and an artist because you've continued to work through this rather than just stopping.
yes,
Is that true?
I definitely, and I can only make sourdough bread so often. So
exactly. You and the rest of Instagram.
The other thing I have noticed is artists are sharing a lot, seem to be, what I've noticed from different areas, sharing a lot more between each other. And so even like one thing, before this whole COVID, I'd never heard of Zoom, but I really like it. And my husband and I were invited to this presentation on Zoom, and I thought I'd much rather listen to this guy this way than having to go downtown to some speaker. And then that person I felt like that person was talking right to me, you know, and I felt more connected. So I think that as a group, you know, I do this with my book club, but not about the book. We just chat once a week. You know, we should keep doing this as a Zoom and share what we're doing, and you get kind of inspired by hearing what other people are doing, or if you see someone's discouraged, you may be able to reach out because you're now aware of that. So hopefully from all of this, we can maybe be connected in a different way going forward.
I think that I'm going to be promoting Kaz's work, and I'll take work on commission.
Thank you. I would like to say that I really appreciated what you said, Kara. And I think this situation has allowed us the time and space to actually reflect on our own work and why you paint and for whom you paint. And I think as a creative person, I can only speak for myself, but as a community of creative people, it really brings you back to your roots in that you make work because it makes you feel a certain way, and it's satisfying to be creative, and it's nourishing. And I think when you're in an art world that demands sales in order to keep regenerating more art, you get into a kind of sometimes you can get into a little track, and you're thinking, what should I paint next that will sell? What should I paint next that is commercially viable? And I think deep in our heart, in my heart, I'll speak for myself, the desire is to be creative and to make beautiful things, to make satisfying things. And this little time of reflection allows us to think about that. And I think from difficulty becomes renaissance, and that the world is changing and we are changing. And for me, it certainly isn't all about the commercial side of making art. For me, it's very much an personal expression. And if there's one gratifying thing that has come from this terrible situation, it's that it has offered time for reflection, time to get into nature, time to think about what you're doing and why you're doing it. You're not always running and doing the next thing. You're actually being thoughtful.
I couldn't agree with you guys more.
That's
I
nice.
agree as well.
Really nice.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's so true, Kaz.
Anka, can you give us a sense of what like Simcoe Street and might be happening in the town?
Well, the patios are supposed to be opening up in the next couple days. I think Lowdown is all set up, and businesses are allowed to be open. So with regular COVID restrictions, you know, no more than 2 people in the space and hand washing. There is a trial period where the street will be closed Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and there will be patios, and artists are also invited to come out and show and talk about their work, sort of with the restrictions in place. We're just waiting on approval because it's so new to everyone that everything has to be made up, all the guidelines for the Liquor Control Board, they're all changing. So, but I think it should happen fairly soon. And then I think that might be, if it's successful, it would be great to continue that through the summer. So the artists still can have that personal connection with people who choose to, and yeah. And I just wanted to come back to, I agree with everything Kaz said and Kara, the time of reflection, but I also just wanted to say that I think we are in a particular great location here for a comeback in the arts, because I think this area will be really booming after we are through all that, and construction is still going. There's still a lot of housing being built, and I think we really do have a culture here where people will buy local art for their homes. I think we're really particularly fortunate. That's the mindset of our community. So I think things will be okay once this is through. That's my opinion.
Be positive.